Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Win with Dice podcast. This is a podcast all about tabletop RPGs. Calvin and I take a casual approach to the hobby, so on this podcast, we like to talk about all the cool games that we run and the cool people that we play the games with. If you're new to tabletop RPGs, what are you doing? Go find yourself a table, and if you are a player at someone's table, why don't you jump behind the GM screen and give your table a fun experience?
Indeed. So this week, we're going to get into some Lancer stuff. We're going to go and talk about the Lancer RPG NPCs that can be found in the Lancer Core Rulebook. And I'll be sure to include some links to the Core Rulebook below, so you can go ahead and check it out and throw some awesome mech gaming at your table if you are taking up GMing for the first time. But before we get into all that fun stuff, let's get to the most important part of the show, the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week.
Yes, the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week, brought to you by Calvin. Thanks, Calvin.
All right, so interesting video that I saw recently. Ramon linked it to me, and then it's a YouTube video by Mapcrow, who we've talked about before. I don't recall when, but I know we've talked about this channel before. And the video was also in response to a blog post, which I'll also link on the papersandpencils.com blog. And it was just regarding the idea of a random encounter table, particularly for those RPG games that are like hex crawls, where you're exploring a larger space and some events may happen based on chance, basically. And typically those tables are based on like a single die roll. I know I've certainly been doing that, where you have a list of like 8 or 12 or 20 or 100 different events, and you roll a die of that corresponding size. But the problem with that, if there's a problem at all, the problem with that is that each event has the same likelihood of happening. So one element on the table has the same likelihood as another element on the table. And what I would do previously is you could skew those a bit. You could say that like if you're rolling a d6, maybe 1 to 3 is one thing, 4 to 5 is one thing, and 6 is another thing. And, you can balance things out that way. But the suggestion I saw in that video, and one that I think is maybe a bit better, is using different dice essentially. So rather than using a d12, the table uses 2d6. And that way you can sort of skew like things that are more common towards the middle of those results, like your 7 or whatever is the average result for whatever 2 dice you might be rolling. And then you have your more extreme results on the other end, on 2 and 12, things that are much more rare but still possible, so you want to have that chance of those things happening. And I just thought that was like a much more interesting way to set up a dice table. The encounter table example itself also has, it goes into detail about like what that thing might be doing when you run into it, or how far away you might be from it, or like sort of the condition it could be in. I'll link the video below because it goes into those details, and that function I think is very interesting. But the thing that stood out to me, and I think the thing that I would probably put into the tip, is just the dice math, just having an idea of like, not like an overall, knowing every possibility of every roll sort of thing, but I think it's interesting to have a grasp on like, this roll is probably going to skew in this direction. This roll has like these possible results, and some are more likely than others. Just having like a general idea of that, I think, could be useful for running games.
Yeah, for sure. And like the results of like a D12 versus 2D6 can definitely help you get better random results. I mean, it would be less random because it'd be skewed, but I mean it would make a little bit more sense, I guess. Like the example that Macro gave was like the difference between like the big bad of the area wandering through and finding you guys versus just like a random local wildlife, which is like abundance, right? So you can have like a bell curve skew of the dice to represent like basically like population density, right? So the more populous something is, the more likely you're gonna run into it. So you can even put that up to the top, and you can use like that math to skew whatever you want. It doesn't have to be 2d6s. It could be like the chance of encountering X number of races inside of a city or something like that, or a specific person or anything like that, which would be pretty cool to implement.
Yeah, the original blog post also has mentions of like different tables that it uses and suggestions for like you could use 2d4, you could use 2d8 depending on how big or small you want the tables to be. I think it's an interesting idea. If you're interested in encounter tables, I'll have the video in the blog post link below. But in general, yeah, I think it's just maybe it's just me, but I really like knowing dice math.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the 2D dice system it broke my brain for a sec. I was like, that is pure genius because most of life is just normal, right? So you could like put the most normal mundane stuff or like the most regular aspect of an area or like a group of people or something like that into that majority bell curve. And then all of the crazy weirdness can be at the end. And, you know, as your players go back and forth through, you know, the hex crawl map or like through the city or whatever, all the encounters, like it'll be pretty much mundane until it's not. And that'll be like the surprise, right? Because if like every day is torrential rain when it's not supposed to be, then, you know, what's the point of that, right? Like I think weather is a big thing. I might start doing that.
Ooh. That's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to our next session of that Rune Lords game, by the way.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm excited. But yeah, there you go, folks. There's the tip of the week. If you're making encounter tables, try using 2 dice instead of 1 dice and skew, you know, those results.
Indeed. All right, well, let's get into the episode. So the plan for this week is we're gonna go through the list of Lancer RPG NPC classes and have a bit of a discussion on them. Ramon, of course, you have a lot more experience with some of these than I do. There's some in here that I have not really used yet, and some that I feel like I've used quite a bit. I feel like I've used Monstrosity quite a bit, so that might be an interesting conversation. So
it's that Pacific Rim in you. You just can't get over robots punching monsters. Like,
it truly is. I think because I saw Pacific Rim before I saw Gundam, it became the formation of the basis of my understanding of the mecha genre.
True.
So let's get into talking about these NPC classes. Ramon, if you want to take it away.
Yeah. So we're just gonna focus on the core NPC classes from the core Lancer book, and we're just gonna go in alphabetical order. This is kind of like a, you know, unstructured way of looking at them, but I thought that it would be a cool idea because, you know, some of the NPC classes I've used, some of the Calvin uses, I want to like contrast and see what we thought of them and if we're going to use them again and like why did we use them in the first place, that kind of stuff, right? So if you never played Lancer, you never GM Lancer, this is just kind of like the straight off the cuff. I mean, I think that we've ran Lancer compared to some other creators like way less. So, you know, our opinions might go so far, but this is definitely from at least somebody who's GM'd a couple games. This is what my opinions are. So yeah, let's start off with the Ace. So the Ace is the special cool flying mech in Lancer, is the NPC. And yeah, Calvin, have you used an Ace before?
Yeah, so I used an Ace over on the Untold Stories project channel. If I can find the video, I'll be sure to link it below. But I used it in the first one-shot of Lancer that I ran over there. The players were on a sort of space elevator heading down to a moon, and they were attacked by some flying mechs. So that, of course, included a couple of Aces.
Yeah, definitely high in agility. No armor to speak of, but, you know, decent. Oh, I guess I'm not sure what decent HP would look like. I think kind of okay HP at the beginning, so 10 HP, and its evasion is 12, so I think it's like pretty high actually for first level Lancers. I don't think first level Lancers even get grit, right? So yeah, but poor E defense and a pretty okay sensor. It's like base abilities. It gets like a cool missile launcher, so like an area of effect. It has like a reaction that does like the barrel roll, and it can fly. So obviously,
yeah, I think the just the mention of the HP. I think what stands out more for it, like taking damage, or rather not, other than it's pretty good. I think its evade is pretty good, but the barrel roll I found was pretty effective. This is just based off memory. I think I got pretty lucky with some of those barrel rolls, especially considering what happened to some of the other NPCs very quickly in that fight.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think so. I used an Ace Previously as my big bad for the very first stream, Lancer mission. The PCs had to go stop a bunch of pirates from pirating, and they found the secret pirate base inside of like a hollowed out asteroid. And funny enough, I stuck the Ace, which is a really good flying mech, inside of like a bunch of hallways essentially, and it worked out extremely well, just because the Ace has so much movement and the ability to when it barrel rolls to, you know, get out of dodge and fly 6 spaces. So with the advent of a bunch of line of sight blocking terrain and via the hallways, I was able to fly in one area, shoot the PCs, one of them tries to shoot back, and then I would just, you know, get out of the way. As well as like the missile launcher had seeking and it was smart, so it was like I didn't need line of sight. It was kind of a menace, as well as it being an ultra.
Really was.
So yeah, so I think that like it might have been a little bit overtuned. Although the one glaring weakness it had was that it had no E defense, and as soon as you got one invade on it and you just put that slow on, its whole life was over. But it took a while for the PCs to catch on, or at least it took a while for the one goblin to get in a position. I made sure to stay out of line of sight, and you know, at least threatened the fact that I could end that goblin's life at any moment with all of the firepower.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the NPCs, they know how their machines work. They'll have a sense of how other people's machines work if they're very, well, I don't know if I would call the horse design common, but, you know.
It's comment on Space Chan.
They know what their weaknesses are, so as frustrating as it was, they would, like, it would make sense, obviously, for the enemy to know, like, I don't want to go near this person, so here's the strategy of taking advantage of my cover, my terrain, just keep moving, avoiding their fire, and I think that makes sense for an Ace.
Yeah, for sure. And like in that kind of like, if you have the ability to block off line of sight from the Ace, from other, you know, NPCs, like maybe it's in a city, so you're flying around skyscrapers or something like that, that would be really useful, because like all of its stuff, like rapid response, if someone moves, you get to move. If someone shoots you, you get to move. There has an ability called Strafe, where it's like for a quick action, you get to just fly for free and do 3 kinetic damage as you like go over or pass another character. So as long as you keep moving, baby, ain't nothing gonna stop you. Like,
you could put you have the optional chaff launchers as well if you want to have. If that other one had chaff launchers, and then it would count as soft cover. It would count as having soft cover rather, and it could barrel roll against tech attacks. We would be in a rougher spot, I think.
Oh yeah, it would be over. But that's why I also like I think Aces are super cool, because I prioritize lots of movement when I think of cool characters, a la Duke, the one forever main character I will always play. So the faster the better, and yeah, definitely a fun NPC to play against, but probably not so good against a bunch of tech attacks and you know, that kind of stuff. I don't know what its heat cap is. Let's see what its heat cap is. It's 8. It's pretty decent, I think. A heat cap of 8 will take you a while to get filled up, unless you're fighting like a really hardcore goblin player who's goblining it up.
Yeah, when I ran the combat with the Ace in it, relative to everything else, I think it had, like, its heat cap was among the highest of everything else in that particular combat scenario. So wasn't super worried about that. Just, you know, avoid getting hit.
Yeah, and I think that the idea of an Ace is really good, because it at least for me, I get a lot of mileage out of it, because you can make it a grunt. It's very easy, I think, to be used as like a swarm of like you know, jets, or like a squadron of jets the players have to fight against. They get area of attacks, which I think is hilarious if you have like 8, you know, blast attacks coming at you, because, you know, you use a bunch of grunts or something like that, and they can mitigate damage. So it really like even more so, because of all the reactions they can take, reliable weapons are key against them, which I think I want to more reinforce with my players every time I play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
all right.
Well, that's all right. I guess we'll move on to the Aegis.
Now, I have not used an Aegis at all. It's a support, and I should probably make better use of supports. So
You got the smash them in the face, idea, right? So
Yeah.
the Aegis are tough. They're defensive support units. They provide cover through their defense net. And they can like a burst 3 area. The Aegis is immobilized, but any attack that goes through it receives like a +2 difficulty, and they can't critically hit, which I always forget that things can't critically hit through that bubble. But characters in the area may attack normally and stuff like that. Allied characters within the affected area also gain immunity to impaired and slowed, which means that like if you're being tech attacked by a pesty goblin who's messing up your cool sniper, well, not a cool sniper man, but like your whoever, they get immunity to that, and it also removes the conditions, so kind of like I guess I was gonna say debuffs, but like debuffs them, and but if the Aegis is like stunned, jammed, or destroyed, then obviously it's like, or like involuntary moved, it's like it's gone. It is rechargeable, but it's a 4+ recharge, so half the time it's gonna come back, and it's a pretty cool thing actually. As well as like the Aegis itself cannot be impaired or slowed or critically hit, which I also forget. I'm pretty sure all my Aegises have been critically hit at one point, so I need to remember
as many things have. That's interesting. Like it provides, it seems like it provides defense against like more tech-based abilities rather than like physical attacks.
Well, I mean, the base impair, right? The base invade is that, right? Where all mechs can do. So it inherently says like, no, you cannot, right? These are me and my friends. It also has like it's pretty chunky. It's got 14 HP, which is like pretty high, really high capacity. It's slow as balls with 3 movement, and its evasion is garbage. You can hit it because it's like 7, but his E-defense is pretty decent at 10, and its sensor is actually kind of small, which kind of sucks, but like not really. It's fine because I feel like you're not moving too much. You're moving into position, and you're kind of like locking down an area, right? Giving opportunities for like your other NPCs to kind of move out, attack, and then maybe move back into cover, right? You're basically just being like a mobile cover provider.
Yeah, it's your ally's job to be around you, not your job to be around them.
Yeah, but it also has like a cool, it's light laser, which is funny because lasers are made of light. So it's like a light laser. It does 3 energy damage, but more importantly, it does 2 burn, which can like kind of stack up. As well as like if you want to go for like advanced, more optional stuff. If someone is like entered, the Ring of Fire gives you like, if someone crosses that boundary, they take 2 heat and they get shredded until they leave the area. I think hard light makes you like a hard light wall, so you actually just provide cover. I don't really see an Aegis being like a ultra NPC. But maybe it might be kind of cool to have like, what's it called? I think there is like a leader type of NPC, which are able to just give out orders or something like that. I have to double check what the NPC template is. Commander, yeah, like a Aegis commander would be pretty good. I've used it in the Lancer stream as like during like the heist essentially, against the Blue Horizon base. I paired it with a bunch of mechs that like have a lot of firepower, but the players were going through a bunch of hallways again. I guess I have a thing for hallways. So the player in mechs, it's so weird. It must be all of my fantasy nonsense of dungeon crawling and stuff like that. But I like the idea of like shoving the mechs into small places that they shouldn't be in, right? But anyway, in a tight area, Aegises are great. They block off hallways. They block off a whole bunch of stuff. I don't think I made them block off line of sight, but I definitely used the Ring of Fire on them.
Yeah, that I remember.
Yeah, so it was like really, and the players had to move through the maze essentially as fast as possible, and having like 1 or 2 Aegises in like those kind of connecting areas from the hallways made it more difficult for them, as well as like, we'll go into this maybe later, but like, the synergy between those and like other NPCs that provided like, they heated you up, they did more burn damage, like it was a really good combination. But my players are way too strong, so they got through it okay.
As players are.
Well, how would you use this, Calvin?
Yeah, I do like the idea of sort of a support leader. I would probably use this if I wanted another option to a support NPC rather than just the obvious, the very obvious option that I'm sure we'll get to. I know like it does provide like difficulty to hit allies with physical attacks, but again, like it feels like it has a lot more help in preventing like tech attacks. Or maybe I'm just like overthinking the sort of shielding it offers. But I like the idea that allied characters, like they get immunity to impaired and slowed. The Aegis itself also has this immunity to impaired and slowed, and I feel like if I had more tech-based players, then this might be something I use a bit more often, just to, you know, throw a specific sort of difficulty that the team has to then deal with. Maybe they rely on the more damage-dealing players to take care of the Aegis, and then they can move in and do their thing.
Yeah, and like as far as like they really basically just kind of lock down an area, right? Like it's more like an area of control thing and support that way versus like other support type NPCs. And you know, the value is that as long as you're able to keep your, you know, your attacking NPCs close by so they can actually benefit from the support. But as soon as like, you know, the Aegis gets like I mean, the Blackbeard is the bane of this Aegis, of an Aegis existence, and like every time there is one, it's always just like lol grapple cable, lol you're coming with me, kid. And like you just put them in the corner and they're so slow they can't get out. So you know, you have to have like you got to keep your Aegises alive with like, you know, other NPCs to threaten whoever tries to come in there. But you know, there's only so much you could stop a Blackbeard, right?
Yeah.
Or for any NPC that like just basically forces movement and stuff like that, for sure. Next one is the Archer. I realize there's a lot of A names. But yes, the Archer. So I guess like the Archer is kind of cool because when I first read it, I was like, is this like a mech with like a bow and arrow? Is that what it is? Like the mech with the spear? But no, it's actually like a suppressive, like you know, machine gun type person, one that throws bullets downrange and suppresses enemies. So it has really good HP. Actually, 16 is crazy. Its evasion's like middle, its Z defense is middle, its sensor range is ludicrous with 15. Its speed is good, and yeah, I think its stats are pretty even across the board. Mind you, we're looking at tier 1, and it kind of just evens out as like it gets better as you go up. So we're just looking at the tier 1 stats of the Archer.
Yeah,
so
like it does have good HP, sensors, and saves okay, I guess. It's pretty low in its defenses, it looks like. I only really used one of these, and it was kind of just a generic coon. As many NPCs are.
I don't think I've ever used an Archer. I'm trying to think of when I would have, but I don't think I have because, like, I don't know. The Archer's never, like, anytime I think of, like, this is a controller type mech, I never think of the Archer of controlling people with bullets. Like,
yeah, it's sort of like a sniping controller with the range that it has.
Yeah. Well, it has its weapon of choice is the light machine gun, which I think it's funny because it's like a light machine gun on like a mech, so it's like not a light machine gun at all. It's
still very heavy compared to an actual machine gun.
Yeah, you know, quote unquote light. But yeah, it's 10 range, it's pretty decent. With a move of speed of 5, like anybody within 15 is in the threat. It has a reliable 3 at base, which is ludicrous. These poor PC bastards out here, getting shredded like that. But it has like the ability suppression as a quick action. The target becomes impaired because, you know, it's using its light machine gun, so within range 10 to, you know, suppress the target. If they move, it gains the moving target reaction, which moving target says that, like, you know, It triggers the archer suppressed target starts to move. It is interrupted with a single weapon attack, which would be probably the light machine gun. Whether attack hits or misses, you get to do that reliable 3, so it's pretty good. The way to get rid of it is that until the archer has used a move, or if the archer gets damaged or leaves the archer's line of sight, or the archer is stunned, jammed, or destroyed, the archer can choose a new target for this action, or the archer ends the action. It's as a free action.
Yeah. I think I should have used this against Duke more. I don't think I applied this to Duke as much as I could have, because I know Duke's a really speedy boy.
I would be super sad. No. Yeah, and it also has like +1 accuracy on overwatches and reaction fires. So like moving, like you get an extra accuracy on moving targets. So I mean, like I think it's because like on its turn, you're less likely. You're just gonna use suppressing fire to lock somebody down, and then like they have to choose what they want to do. And like if they move, they get shot, or if not, then they lost. They didn't get to reposition, which is controlling the battlefield, of course. As well as they're being impaired, so like shooting back is harder, or like shooting a target is trying to defend harder, as well as like the optional features. People have to make an engineering save, or like they get blinded essentially, like they reduce their line of sight to just adjacent. Impeding threat is like a reaction. A hostile character within line of sight or range 10 of the archer makes a move action. The character must chooses to lose the triggered action/movement, or continue but let the archer immediately attack them with a single weapon attack. So shoot you with the gun. So it's bullets for days.
Yeah, I think if I were to use this again, because when I used this, it was like the first Lancer combat that I'd ever run. So looking back, I feel like this is the one that we talked about before, where I would have made the map smaller, but I also would have held this guy a bit further back, take advantage of the range that it's capable of, and take advantage of maybe more of its optional features. But even its base feature alone, to try to keep players from moving too much, if you combine that with something that does area damage or needs to get into melee with them, I think it could be very effective.
Yeah, and I think one ability, which is I think is super key, again, me and the movement, is rapid response. It's a reaction. When an enemy in line of sight moves, the archer gets the boost. Right.
Yeah, when I move, you move.
Yeah, right.
Just like that.
Yeah. So, I think that's super cool, and really kind of controls the battlefield. Maybe I should use archers more. Yeah, that would be kind of fun. A bunch of archer grunts would be hilarious. Like, just the worst, man. Yeah, especially with that 3. Like reliable damage, like it's either you take 3 damage or you take 5 damage with your choice. Like and I do just like the idea of just firing squads. I think I haven't used an archer, but I've definitely used I think it was coming up the assault later, right? And like the idea of just a bunch of dudes standing around in a line just destroying people with weight of fire is the funniest thing ever. But like again, I would also pair this with the commander template to make it like so it's like they're I would just pair this with the assault, because I think it's just funny, just like dudes with guns. So like you'd have the commander archer direct like the fire and like suppressing key targets and shit like that, and then the assault's laying down the damage. So yeah, that's just me and my cruelness, because apparently I just really love reliable damage on NPCs. You know what it is? It's because like I don't have to like care. It's like oh yeah, here take 15 damage because 5 dudes with 5 archers are shooting at you. Oh,
you just don't even roll.
Yeah, I don't even roll. It's like, you're dead. Like,
get out of here.
Get out of here.
I mean, you probably should roll because it might be higher, but it would be very funny to just be like, I don't care about the rolls. Good. Take your damage and go home.
Exactly. They do fall short from, like sniper fire, essentially. If you have a gun that outranges it, or you were able to, get in close to it, or, attack it with a tech attack. Obviously, there's ways to get around the archer, but yeah, it's a pretty cool mech, actually. Should use it more. Definitely gonna use this more.
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay, next is the assassin. This guy can be size 1/2 if you wanted to. If you want to have your cyborg ninja life, you could do that. Definitely high agility. HP is 15, which is pretty high. Evasion is 12, which is pretty good. Its E-defense is okay, so at 8. Sensor's 10. Its speed is 6, so it's a speedy boy. But it also has cool abilities, which I think is really cool. It has leap, which for one action you get to just leap, essentially. When they land, any adjacent players have to make agility saves or be knocked prone, so they jump in and I guess use their momentum to bounce off of your mech. It has a thing called Assassin's Mark, so you get to choose somebody and they get totally fucked. So like, you know, the assassin chooses the character in line of sight, and for the rest of the scene, it has resistance to that damage, to that target's damage. It deals damage it deals to that target cannot be reduced, and it gains +1 accuracy in all saves forced by that target. So basically it's like seek and destroy mode, right? You choose one dude and it's like, I'm gonna mess up that goblin's day. And
you know what this is making me think of? Just looking at the abilities this thing has, and I guess sort of the feel of it. So, because I'm going to talk about Gundam all the time, I'm going to talk about Gundam all the time. Just coming off of things like Gundam Seed, coming off of 00, coming off of the original series, I really like the idea of having like this one particular jackass pilot who keeps coming back, and he's just a real jerk to someone else on the hero team. Like, just having that rivalry with someone else who is like on opposing sides. And I feel like the assassin could be a really good class to sort of fit in that narrative.
Yeah. And it also, I think it'd be really funny because like you can mess around with a player for a little bit and then just like peace out, right? Like, definitely fun reoccurring villain because it has the speed to run away, right? You're right. It's pretty funny. Like,
yeah, that's like it has the cloud projector, which is basically a smoke bomb.
Yeah, it has the smoke bomb. It has like a way to with sap, which is like an ability to like stun people. Like it has that explosive knife ability, right? That's really cool. Yeah, no, I like. Oh, my favorite is spinning kick. you just I'm a karate man them, right? You know, like we're playing Tekken. So yeah, lots of ways to get people prone, and when you're prone, you're easier to hit. And if you're easier to hit, you're easier to kill. So again, I think low E defense. It means that you tech attack the crap out of this person, but also figuring out who is. I don't think you need to tell who the assassin's mark is on, but maybe it might be good to tell your PCs or make it a reason for people to scan the assassin to know who it's targeting, because you know it could be scary, right? So if you have like one assassin, then you know it'd be scary for that one person who's trying to fight it, but also it has those ways to get around the other PCs who are trying to protect it. So I guess I don't know, I'm thinking of a fight where it's just like, again, like could you imagine fighting like a bunch of cyborg ninjas and they're all assassins? Like they're all just like comboing the shit out of you. Like you're just like getting like jumped.
They just all jump on top of you, drop a smoke bomb, and they're just kicking you around.
Yeah, they're just kicking you around. Like have like a trade of just people just like you get punted to this person who gets punted to that person. Yeah, that would be pretty funny and really abusive. And like I think having like a big assassin's grunts would be pretty good.
You know what I think is interesting? I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the because it has in the optional features, it has like a shotgun that has knockback. And the spinning kick also basically does knockback. I think it's interesting that it has things that are just like, you know, knock their enemy away from you. I guess to sort of like have the players have to spend a bit of time trying to move, especially if you combine that with the cloud projector with your Kapow smoke bomb.
Yeah.
You can really mess with line of
It's
sight.
also because of Heated Blade. Heated Blade has an ability where it's like it doubles the damage on prone, shredded, immobilized, or stunned targets. And if you knock somebody into something, they get knocked down. So that's they have lots of ways to just like, you know, end your life. It also has +2 accuracy, which is like bonkers to me. That's like so much extra hit, but like I love it. You love to see it. And as well as like if someone's trying to rescue, like a PC is trying to rescue the marked PC by coming in and like trying to get the assassin off of them, you can just give them the shotgun, right? Yeah, it's threat 3. You just blast them back, and then it's like it's overs. Again, I'm thinking like you should have a bunch of cyborg ninjas in a city, have a bunch of like terrain where they can utilize their leaping ability. So like the PCs are at like a. Again, I'm always trying to put my players in a disadvantage. Hey, it's 4 of them versus 1 of me. I gotta stack the deck, right? So again, putting in a city, putting in an urban environment, or at least like have an environment where there's lots of cover, line of sight blocking stuff, where you're able to sneak around and be a cool assassin or ninja cyborg person.
Yeah, I think we talked before about having a combat set in an urban environment where you have to worry about like damage you might be causing to nearby buildings and things like that, and this might really work well for that sort of setting, especially something that's able to like purposely knock you around. If your enemies don't care about damage to those buildings and you have one that's able to like push you around and knock you down, I think that could be a really dangerous scenario.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with civilians around. And that could be a cool like narrative consequence, is like, how much of the city you did destroy. Or like, it would be kind of funny to have like an expense bill like email to the PCs after like it's like, here's how much money you made, but this is all of the damage you caused, and that's like your score at the end. Like that'd be so funny. It'd be like the funniest thing. Like I want to have like a thing where the players are just cops. The players are just like
yeah, I mean, I don't know if they would care about property damage if they were, but
yeah, but it does because it comes out of their bottom line.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah. That would be an interesting mechanic.
For sure. And then now we'll go on to the last of the A's, the Assault. Which is Ramon's favorite mech, actually.
Old reliable.
Yeah, old reliable Assault, which I think like in my head, it's like Assaults are just like the grunt people, but like actually Assaults are the special forces, kind of. They're just like the most solid all around people, and if you have like an Assault on the battlefield, somebody's gonna get hurt real bad, no matter what. Again, it's like your all-rounder kind of mech, and like I guess to me it's like the first mech I ever think of ever. Like right, so it's straightforward at dealing damage, whether if it's close up or far away. It has a heavy assault rifle, reliable 2, 10 range. It does 6 damage on hit, which is a hell of a lot. It also has a combat knife for that cool combat knife tricks, you know what I mean? A la Winter Soldier, I guess you could do your cool knife tricks.
Doing knife tricks in your neck?
Yeah, dude. This is
okay.
I thought this was anime, I'm pretty sure. I saw
right.
Gundam. I saw Gundam do it, so it must be right?
I mean, it
also has a reaction called Hunker Down. So, you get hit by an attack, so someone already took the hit. They already went past your defenses, but you haven't rolled damage yet. You just gain resistance to that damage from that attack, which is pretty cool. So like once per round, if you get hit, you could just be like, nah, actually I take half.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Gundam, I had the idea of just like this being a classic Zaku mech, because it has the assault rifle and combat knife. Don't worry about it. People know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It is literally the Zaku mech when I think of it. This is Zaku. Like, what is Zaku? This is it.
This is just the guy. Yeah, I think Assault, it really fits. Like, I know it's because each NPC class in Lancer, like, it has its own special abilities and things like that. So yeah, I think the Assault can be that generic goon in a way, but at the same time, like, it has its own abilities that make it, like, if you have too many of them, it makes them pretty dangerous. Like, having that reliable damage, having the ability to gain resistance to damage, having accuracy, like this, I think this is where it has the advantage in numbers, because you have the accuracy when it's near allied characters.
Yeah, and it's like mad straightforward, and as like a GM, sometimes you just need like mad straightforward like enemies to run, right? Like you're just all your job is to put them into the position, and then don't worry about it. They'll just take care of the rest. So this is, again, like I said, this is why I like reliable damage, because you as a GM, you just roll the dice and be like, I did it or not, right? You're not too worried, right? About like, oh god, is this challenging enough? Just the fact that you're targeting a PC with reliable weaponry, and like if you have a lot of it, again, it just gets really, really scary really, really fast for those guys. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool. They have like a couple of cool abilities, like they can fire micro missiles, which I think visually I'm always like, I like it when all of a sudden like parts you never thought of open up and then just shoot a bunch of missiles out. It turns into like a pseudo sniper with the high impact rounds. It also turns into like a pseudo like artillery piece with like an auto targeting. I don't know, man, this thing is awesome. I fucking love this thing. Like
yeah,
again,
it can really fit a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, and it could fit a lot of I would say like themes, right? Like this is just kind of in your mercenary company, in your special forces company, in your gang, right? Like I feel like the how simple the assault is, you can really make it fit into a lot of different NPC groups, right?
Yeah. Like of all of them, it feels like it can fit into different scenarios like a lot better than some of the other NPC classes.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, now we're into the bees. And definitely, I think I haven't used a lot of these at all. So next one is the Barricade. I don't think I've ever used the Barricade, Calvin. Have you?
Nope. Looking at my list of things, I have not. I think I considered it for one of my combats, but I hadn't actually put it into use. Oh, but you know what I did use? I don't know if this counts, but I did take its Graviton Lance ability, which is basically like it fires a gravity beam at you. It does damage and it slows you. I did take that and sort of reskin it a bit, and I used that for an ice beam on my giant turkey monster.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But as for the Barricade itself, I haven't personally used it. But I do like the idea of it, just how it's able to like create its own cover, because again, that's the thing where, like, when you're making a combat map, and this was something that I've talked about a bunch of times, me not knowing this at first, but just having like different objects in its cover and the things you can use on the map just like varies things a bit. It makes it, it's not just an open football field. It's a place where a combat is happening, so there might be areas where you can use to hide behind and avoid damage and go for cover. I like the idea of something that will dynamically make that cover and just dynamically change the battlefield.
Yeah, and I like that, it ignores difficult terrain, it prints its own cover, the Graviton Lance, it slows people, so, it's like, it's a controller type mech, so definitely in the instances where it's like, you have to get to the extraction point, or like there's a timed thing that you have to, like a position that the NPCs need to, or the players need to control, barricades are super good. Again, it also has resistance to kinetic damage, which I believe is the most available damage in the game.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty decently chunky boy with resistance to kinetic. Its HP is pretty good, and its sensor is great. Its heat capacity is great. Its save target is great. It's slow, but it's a really big boy. So
yeah, and it also has armor. Looking at its optional abilities, there's a lot of like, there's slow, there's immobilize, and there's making areas into difficult terrain. So there's a lot of things that are like slowing down the players or just stopping them completely. And yeah, like that, I think that would be effective if the goal in a particular combat scenario is to get to a certain area as fast as possible.
Yeah, I would definitely use it. Again, me and my hallways. Just like, could you just imagine? Just like, oh no, the players are coming. Prince Cube in front of the only way in.
Assemble the cube.
Yeah, you extrude and you just put two. Like, and you're like, what are you gonna do now, players? Yeah.
You can't stop cubes.
You can't stop cubes. Although I think there is one ability. I think it's like auxiliary launcher ability for like the cannon talents, where you just destroy terrain. You're just like, you're dead. It just blows it up. Or there's several abilities, but it kind of gives the those terrain affecting abilities a use, right? Make those like I think they're called kobolds. Kobolds do a lot of terrain stuff, as well as that talent allows to like blow up sections of the map. Have that map interactivity is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would make this like I would actually make this an ultra. I think it'd be the funniest ultra actually. Just like you're just sitting there just printing a bunch of cubes, but then you. It sounds so silly.
You can't get me from behind my cubes.
Yeah, you're just like playing Minecraft. You're just spawning in blocks to like stop the players. But yeah, definitely I should use more barricades in my stuff. So the next one is the Bastion, and I believe I've definitely used the Bastion before. So Bastion, it's a defender. It's size 2. Protects its allies. It gets in the way of fire from distant enemies. Defends its enemies. Defends its defends its allies from its enemies.
I mean, you never know. Maybe it's a peacemaker.
Yeah, this also reminds me of Zaku's, because Zaku's always carrying around like a shield and a gun. So it has like a rotary grenade launcher, which is cool. It's arcing, so you get over line of sight, blocking terrain and stuff like that. I also have a heavy assault shield, which knocks people back, so that kind of like big heavy shield. But it also has friendly interdiction. So as a protocol, the Bastion and one ally that's adjacent to it gains resistance to all damage dealt by one character with a line of sight. The Bastion chooses a new ally or target as a protocol, and the ally loses resistance if they ever break adjacency. So the Bastion is protecting the person. It also can be used as hard cover, which is super duper cool because that's like 2 difficulties on a roll. So you stick a cool, like I imagine having the Bastion sit next to the sniper and just provide all that sweet juicy cover that the sniper needs against returning fire, and just have the PCs, they put them at the edge of the map and just be like, GG noobs, get good. Right.
Yeah, put a barricade to slow them down from getting there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's just a hallway. Like
It's a big hallway.
It's a big hallway. I've used Bastions, but I don't think I've ever used them in like a really cool capacity. I think I used Bastions when I was probably during that Blue Horizon thing, again, just kind of stalling the players. It has Siege Guardian, so that blast, burst, line, any sort of area of attacks that's going to basically bypass the Bastion's like defenses. Ally characters gave resistance to them while they're adjacent, so just they don't have to be the one being protected by friendly interdiction. You can protect all your allies as long as you're adjacent.
I'm noticing the Fearless Defender optional system, and I think that's going to be really so. It's basically like if the Bastion is within movement range of 5 of an ally that takes damage. If it's not immobilized, slowed, or stunned, or anything like that, it can move and take the damage instead. And I think that's a really cool ability. It's been used against a party in, something similar has been used against a party in a Mutants and Masterminds game that I'm in. So used very effectively in some cases where you'll have like a hero going for a specific villain, and then one of their minions comes in and takes that damage instead. I think a Bastion could be really effective at doing something like that, where you're in a tight space, much like a hallway. And once per round, you're able to just like absorb damage that would normally go towards something else, because the Bastion also has a significant amount of armor, so it can really like eat a bunch of hits at lower levels.
Oh yeah, it has 3 armor, which is like bonkers. It's a lot. You can eat a lot of damage, a lot of reliable damage too. Its HP is only 10, but that 3 armor definitely helps it out. So any AP weaponry would do good against it. But it does have that resistance. Also, burn damage would do really good against a Bastion, because that is ignored by armor, because armor doesn't stop you from being on fire. But the cool thing about, I think, Fearless Defense is that you can basically like have the Bastion guard one person, right? But have the ability to come over and save another person. And the fact that you're able to move, you could even, provide hard cover to that person afterwards for follow-up attacks or something like that, right? As well as like death counter, because like maybe, death counter allows you to just absorb the first damage that the Bastion takes. So if that first damage comes from Fearless Defender, you know what I mean? Like you're just eating people's lunches. You're just bullying people at this point.
Yeah, that would be pretty badass, actually. Like, the thing just moves. It doesn't take any damage. It just blocks with its shield, and it's just right there, giving the players at least the intimidating glare from the other side of the shield.
I know. Again, I think the answer to that one would probably be some AP weaponry, or just sheer volume of fire, or like fucking a goblin.
Or literal fire.
Or literal fire. Or like a goblin telling it to walk away. Like, after the Bastion, it is the Berserker, which is super cool. I've used a Berserker before. I'm pretty sure I have. I always think Berserkers are like, they're like the piratey gangster kind of like reckless kind of person.
Yeah,
really
I see Berserker as like evil Blackbeard.
Yeah, it's like enemy Blackbeard. Yeah, basically what I think it is too. It has the chain axe, so obviously it is bringing skulls to the skull throne, and blood for the blood god, so it's really good. Aggression, if you try to deal with the Berserker by attacking it, it gets to attack a random character, and if it's in the middle, you basically just take a Berserker and you throw it downfield as far as it could possibly go into the enemy lines, and get the players to try and deal with it, and if they can't, like, sucks the suck homes,
Yeah, I have used the Berserker before. I used it in that space elevator combat that I talked about before, and it was an elite. It was pretty much the leader of the particular squad that was ambushing the players on this platform, and it was pretty good for maybe like a round or two. It unfortunately had a ship pulled down on top of it, so didn't last as long as I hoped it would.
Yeah, its HP is okay. It has some armor, but the big thing is that it has resistance to all damage, unless it's been impaired, stunned, immobilized, shredded, or anything happening to it, basically. Which can easily be done with the players get access to all these cool weapons, or just like a simple invade will just turn this thing into mush, basically. As a Blackbeard too.
Yeah.
Super secret tip: if you're getting bullied by a Blackbeard, just send it some spam, and its inbox gets clogged up and it can't do anything. But yeah, I mean, it has the cool like nail gun. It has a cool harpoon cannon. It has Juggernaut, so when you use avalanche charge to like charge people, it can just mess a whole bunch of people's days up. It also has apparently a reaction called Super Hot. When the Berserker takes melee damage, the Berserker gains resistance to that damage and must succeed an engineering check or take 2 burn. As it like events its super awesome heater at you, I guess. And Retribution, again, if you're trying to deal with the Berserker with damage, it gets +2 damage against the opponent. So whenever Berserker takes damage, the next attack deals +2 damage. This bonus stacks up to +8. Bonuses are lose when the Berserker attacks. Or at the end of their next turn, which is nuts. +8 on just an attack is crazy.
Yeah, of all the NPCs, Berserker is one that I quite like. It is one of my favorites because it is just a problem. Especially with some of those systems that like respond to damage, like this thing is very much a problem.
Oh my god, you don't ever want to use like reliable damage to this thing. Like just miss, dog. Either you kill it or you don't. You have to kill it in one shot or else.
Yeah, whatever you do to this thing, you don't want it to be alive to do it back to you.
Yeah. Okay. We got 2 more of the bees, and then I think we might call it.
Sure, let's finish the bees, and then if people like this, maybe we'll do another episode of something similar.
Yeah, okay, so we got the Bombard. Is your classic, stick a cannon on the pair of legs mech.
Yep.
Yeah, I've used Bombards pretty successfully, I think. I like them a lot. Having a blast to 25 range, sit at the back, annihilate people. Again, one of my favorite things to make grunts. Just have like basically, I love the idea of just like the players having to go through it's like it's World War II and just like infinite artillery. It's like GG, get to the other side or else. Bombers attack deal 2 damage to all targets that are adjacent to, like, basically it's like if your players are clumped up, they get to do 2 more extra damage to them. They also have Earthquaker shells, which knocks people prone on a hull save. They have siege armor, so they get resistance from all damage stacks beyond 3, which is pretty good. So if they're receiving fire, they get to get resistance on it. I don't know, it's a pretty chill mech. I like it because it's easy to use and easy to remember to, like, you can't really do bad by it because like you don't, it has speed of 2, it's not going anywhere. It has a pretty good E defense of 12, its sensor is of 15, its evasion is 7, so it sucks, but all you have to do is just attack with your super heavy cannon every turn and fucking people up.
Just be far away from the start.
yeah.
I have used the Bombard before. This was in, again, that same one shot. The players were in a pit, essentially, and they had to deal with a few other NPCs, as well as like these arcing electrical components that were, dangerous to be around. And at the edge of the pit, I had the Bombard just like raining shells down on top of the players, like. And in addition, with the Earthshaker shells, it sort of throws up debris and it's able to create like segments of hard cover. So again, that has that element of making a more dynamic environment, as it can throw up something in the way. It can throw up cover that's in the way that people can take advantage of. They have to move around.
Yeah, and as well as like it has Bunker Buster, which means that if you try and put up or use terrain to your advantage, that shit's gone. Like,
exactly.
Which again altering the terrain. Like maybe the players try to take cover, then it just kind of deletes that cover. As well as like flare. I think flare drone's a really cool one, where if you deploy this drone within the 25 line of sight range. And it creates like a burst to area bright light, and all players in the area, including those who move in the area, lose their invisibility. They lose hidden, so you can't sneak. They can't hide. And in addition, the Bombard gets +1 accuracy. It's basically just like literally like a flare. It's really like World War II. We just like shoot the flare and then shoot them on your next turn. The drone can take damage from the Bombard's attack, and the Bombard can only have 1 drone deployed at a time. So if the drone gets destroyed, you just deploy another one. So, it's pretty cool. I think the idea of having like spotlights, you could have like a bunch of Bombards and they all have flare drones. And when one like, if you just like flare drone shoot, if it survives, cool. If not, then shoot another one in. It's like, I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I like the idea of starting a combat with being noticed by a flare drone. Like players have to sneak into somewhere. And then if they get spotted, maybe a flare drone goes off, and then a Bombard starts just like bombardment.
Yeah, and I think like maybe flare drones should just be like a hazard. Actually, it would be cool to just use a bunch of flare drones, like outside of just having a Bombard, and just say like there's Bombard. Like I'm always about taking stuff from NPCs and putting them in other NPCs, so a flare drone is definitely a stealable one that you could put on somebody else.
Yeah, because it reveals like hidden or invisible mechs, as well as giving like an accuracy. You could just have anything take that accuracy, like a lock-on, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And last one is a Breacher. So a Breacher is the dude with the shotgun. He's your Doom guy, if he was a size 1 mech. So lots of burst damage, isn't really accurate, but able to use like lock-ons from other support or other accuracies from other support NPCs. Use a breaching round to make sharp work of cover, and it lacks speed and range, but it like has a lot of reaction range. So it has the dual shotgun, and this attack can make 2 attacks at once, targeting either the same or different characters, so it's like pretty good. It has 2 difficulties on it, so you're probably gonna miss, but like if you're able to get some accuracy on it and boost that down to like a regular attack, like oof, you're gonna ruin someone's day.
Yeah, like it does do pretty good amount of damage actually.
Yeah, and I do like the breach ram as well. You're able to just plow through stuff like your juggernaut bitch, right? And just knock people down and destroy obstacles and destroy cover and stuff like that. And it also has break armor, so a character that successfully attacked more than once by the breacher's dual shotguns becomes shredded for the rest of the scene, which is nuts.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's really good. I don't think I've ever done that before, so maybe one day breacher will come out and you're dead. But like knocking people down gives you an accuracy. Getting a lock on gives you an accuracy. So pair like the breacher with like a support mech that is able to provide that kind of support to you, maybe really well. Maybe do you pretty good actually. They also make really good. I think of this guy as paired with the Berserker. You send a breacher and a Berserker downfield with the Berserkers just going apeshit, and then you have the breacher and you're trying to get away from the Berserker, but then the breacher shoots you on Overwatch. It's a lot.
Yeah, just kablams. Yeah, I quite like this one. It's another one that I do want to make more use of. I guess I should probably start running a bit more Lancer. But I love the concept of it, just like bursting in there with your dual shotguns and just smashing through debris and people.
Yeah, and like you could even give it flechette shot, which is an auxiliary close quarter ballistics one that isn't a 2 difficulty to hit. This weapon makes attack form as a cone 3, starting from the edge of the target space. And you get somebody in range, you blast them, they trap allowed to blast somebody else, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, like I haven't used this yet, but it seems like a very cool sort of concept for a mech. Just the idea of the kind of weapons it has, the kind of movement it does, how it could pair well with something that's coming in and just stabbing people on the ground after it knocks them prone. This might make some appearances in the future.
This is Calvin's new OP mech. Fair the breacher, bitch. And that's I guess we've gone through the B's and the A's. There's a lot of B's and A's. We still have a lot more mechs to go through though, but I think we should call it there.
Yeah, well, if people are interested in this sort of thing, we'll do another go through, like similar to what we've done before with the system that Ramon has been working on, the Grand Saga system, and we've gone through other like Pathfinder stuff where we just go through the stats in the books. So if people are interested in that, we'll go through more of these NPCs and we'll talk about the ones that we have used, because I have used a Cataphract, but it's been a while, so it might be interesting to go back and look at that thing again. But yeah, again, like if you are someone who plays the Lancer RPG and you have specific NPCs that you like, either from the core book or from any of the third-party books that we've talked about, definitely drop a comment about it below. We would love to hear about it and maybe check those things out, because I'm sure we've talked to a bunch of people. So I'm sure we've probably talked to whoever wrote the book that you might be interested in. Or, several degrees of Kevin Bacon. We've talked to someone who knows them.
This is true.
I one thing I like about the Lancer episodes is like just how much people are into it and the community and stuff around it. So yeah, I want to know like what people are into. But I guess that's gonna be it for this episode, unless there's anything else you wanted to mention before we head into the outro.
No, I think we're good to go.
All right. Well, thanks a ton, everybody out there, for checking out this episode and giving it a listen. If you're into the Lancer RPG, or if you think it sounds cool, I'll have a link to where you're able to pick up the book below. As well, if you look below, as I mentioned, we've talked to a whole bunch of Lancer third-party writers and creators. So go check out all of their awesome stuff if you want to spice up your Lancer game with, everybody's unique ideas, their NPCs, their settings, their player options, all sorts of fun stuff. As well, I want to give a shout out to the Untold Stories Project. They started a new show recently, involving Planegia. which is a D&D 5th edition setting that is like a prehistoric-based setting. If you want to check out a very unique setting, I think, for 5e, go check that out. As well, we're going to be doing some Baldur's Gate co-op stuff. I think the day this episode comes out, actually, so swing by either the Limit Dice channel or the Untold Stories Project channel to see the alternate views of co-op over there. Last time we played, I was trying to comprehend the tome, and I didn't finish comprehending the tome. It was too strong for me. So we'll see what the possible results of that will be. But that's about it. Oh, actually no, I should mention that there are gaming streams on this channel as well. Control is going to be back this week. We're going to be going through the first of the two DLCs. And then Baldur's Gate, probably getting to the beginning of Act 2. I think we're pretty close to like the first major fight of Act 2. And then Mass Effect Andromeda on Sunday. Just wrapping up all the planet stuff because all my side quests all got a bit built up as I was doing main story stuff, like a weirdo. So yeah, definitely check out those gaming streams as well. And I think that is it, unless Ramon, is there anything else that I'm forgetting to mention?
No, I think you're good to go.
All right. Well, for all of our bunker-busting, dual shotgun-wielding GMs and players out there, just remember to keep on winning with dice, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.